Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I just want to quickly be talking about the current worries I have for this Manifesto patch, specifically for bow builds. I'm not going to be talking about the entire Manifesto because, to be honest with you, I don't think I can really say much about apart from this area, because the thing is with bow builds is that I make a lot of bow builds usually, and I've been playing around with this side of the tree for just way too long. Something that I just want to point out that might be an issue, and I'm not saying it's going to be a problem. They might have already thought about this, but from judging from what it looks like, it doesn't feel that way, and maybe there's going to be changes still, so you never know, and I just want to point something out. So yeah, so my current issue is that with a normal bow build, like an ice shot or tornado shot or whatever, your main defensive kit is basically to take acrobatics and face acrobatics, and then you get blind on hit somewhere. Especially as a Deadeye, that would be pretty much your defenses. Maybe you take focal point and you take the less damage near the corpses that it stays on and stuff like that. But yeah, and the whole play style is like playing from far away, so it's not that bad. And okay, so that's understandable, and that's fine. But here's the problem. Before, you only had to spend like 5 points for acro phase acro, and that's pretty much it, right? Like you don't have to worry about your defenses as much anymore, and you're kind of used to dying like once in a while. It's kind of normal because you get randomly one shot. And this approach that they're doing, I think it's actually kind of cool. It's like the spell suppression, especially. I really like this approach where you take less damage when you get hit by a spell. So I think this is okay, right? But this is a problem that I'm really worried about. So usually it's actually very hard to invest in evasion, and I know that they're buffing evasion, so you don't need to invest as much. But these kind of numbers are really, really high still, especially for a bow build like eye shot or tornado shot or whatever. It just feels like it's going to be very difficult to get this type or this amount of evasion, or enough evasion to feel the same as it did with dodge. So yeah, that's my current worries right now. I just feel like you have to invest too much into your defenses here, and usually on the tree you're really, really struggling for points on these builds, and having to spend so much, or like quite a few more points potentially, and gear to make up for this might be a problem. For example, if your bow build is running a bunch of uniques, which is quite typical for these type of builds, you're going to be in a bit of a problem where you're not going to be able to get evasion on your gear. Like not all your gear, some of the uniques are not going to have good enough evasion on the items to actually give you a decent amount. And obviously relying on flask for evasion is not great either. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like it's still too high, these numbers for bow builds in particular. As apart from toxic rain, I'm not really worried about toxic rain because you can always get evasion base gear everywhere, and you're always running rares on that build, so it's not really a problem for toxic rain. But for like other bow builds, I feel like, I don't know, I'm a bit worried about it. I hope that there's gonna be. I mean, I can't really say anything yet because there's no POB. I can't even check all of these things. I'm just, purely speculating on these things. Like, it's not for certain that it's going to be as bad as I'm making it out to be. Now, for builds that I think that would, probably do really well this league, and I think a lot of other people have said this as well, and I've seen this, is that combining evade with ES, or combining evasion with block, which they're adding, that really crazy gladiator as a like keystone on, or ascendancy point as a keystone, which is really insane because getting spell block usually is very difficult, and being able to make it the same as your attack block is really, really nice. So maybe some evasion block builds would be really good, but then again, that's not for bow builds, right? Scaling block on a bow build is really difficult. Like, there's one quiver that gives you some block, and that's it. So I kind of wish there was more ways to scale defense as with a bow and a quiver. That would be quite nice, because right now it feels like we're moving into a block meta, or ES block and armor ish type of meta, where there's no room for bows to scale the defense as much, apart from just playing far away, which you can say is a valid argument. But to be honest with you guys, with the bow build nowadays, if you want to max out your damage, you have to stand still. And you can get punished very heavily for standing still in this game, especially if you have a barrage set up. Like, I just feel like you're not tanky whatsoever, and it feels really painful to play a bow build, and that's why I've been staying away from them apart from last league, because the Secrets of Suffering build was really good, and you didn't need to use a barrage setup. Alright, so I just want to show you guys an actual example of a build that uses or like a ranger bow build. So this is my build from 3.15, the Doomfletch one. As you can see, I just want you guys to notice that I only have 2,900 evasion, and this is without blind, and I'm going to keep blind off because it will skew the reality of what's happening here. And I'm really kind of sad about blind being nerfed this much, because it used to be a very powerful way to gain a lot of defense, and it makes sense it kind of got nerfed because literally any build could like put it on and get 50 evade chance just like that. But I feel like taking that away is like, I don't know, it feels weird to take that away because it was just a supplementary added defense, not a viable solo defense type. And I still feel like evade on its own is not viable at all. Even despite just buffing some numbers on it, it's not going to do anything. So let me just tell you guys a specific example of this build. So as you can see, I have 2,900 evasion. This is extremely low, and we don't actually take any like real evade nodes apart from the start of the tree and, you know, some life ones. But this is like a typical tree to, you know, basically have this type of evade on a bow build. And if you see my items here, we've got a few uniques. So SNS Chant is an ES base, and not gonna lie, I won't be surprised if this is getting nerfed, because yeah, I don't know, a lot of bow builds have been using it last league, and I don't know, they might nerf it. But yeah, like Painseeker is an evade base, so I guess that's not so bad. And then you see my other gear. Basically my Assassin's Garb is an evasion base. My, I don't know, my boots, I guess, are not evasion, so that's not optimal. Running a Sin's Rebirth that gives more evasion, so if you disable that, it goes even lower. So, you know, like, you can buff the numbers, like, even double the amount of evasion that I have. It's not even going to be close to good enough. And not only that, I'm going to have to also spend points on spell suppression, which honestly just doesn't sound good at all. I feel like this type of build will not have any defenses next league, or like nowhere near as much as it does right now, which really sucks because I feel like acrobatics and phase acrobatics were basically like a a temporary solution to bad defenses on this side of the tree, and I'm just taking away the temporary defenses and not really buffing evasion enough feels really, really bad for this type of build. So you would probably not play this as a Deadeye anymore. Probably would go like Raider, and probably go for this like more evade chance. I don't know if they're keeping this. I didn't read in the manifesto if they're keeping this as it is, but this would be very strong, I guess. But I don't know, guys. It's not looking too hot for bow builds in particular. But if I'm completely wrong, let me know. And they also, you know, nerfed the Wind Dancer a bit as well. So you take more damage if you've been hit recently, I believe, something of that sort. So if you get hit twice in a row, you're going to be taking more attack damage. So yeah, I don't know. It just feels like this didn't really do anything in a good way, right? Like at most it's gonna be the same, at worst it's gonna be worse. So I don't know, I feel like it should have been a actual nice improvement, but for evasion in particular I don't feel that way whatsoever. So yeah, let me know what you guys think.